Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial, before we go to today's editorial, let us start the session with a nice quote. What is today's quote? Believe you can and you're halfway there. You should believe in yourself, that is very important. When you believe in yourself, you're halfway there. Very important. While preparing for competitive exams, whether others believe in you or not, that does not matter. You should believe in yourself. A very useful quote while preparing for competitive exams. And today, from the editorial, from this session, you are going to get enriched grammar point of view, comprehension point of view, vocabulary point of view, as well as exam topics point of view. When it comes to exam topics, today you're going to work on practice questions based on exam topics, errors, jumble, scrambled sentences, idioms, and as usual, editorial vocabulary. And today's editorial is an important editorial in the sense I have been telling any editorial related to economy is important. And today's editorial is all about Indian economy. It is all about economic recovery, and there are a lot of words you can learn from this editorial. Let us go to the editorial. And at the outset, let us see what is there to learn from vocabulary point of view. The very first word, blues. In fact, today is Monday, Monday morning. There is one expression, Monday blues. What does it mean? These Westerners, it has Western origin. They enjoy over the weekends, Saturday, Sunday, they freak out. And Monday morning, because they enjoy for 2 days a lot, they feel a little depressed. They don't feel like going to the office. That is known as Monday blues. But this editorial talks about the spring blues. The spring season has just started. Keeping that in mind, the editorial says the spring blues. When you read the editorial, you understand why it has been used. Second word, nurture. Nurture usually goes with kids. Care for and protect while they are growing. As I said, someone or something. Usually it goes with kids. It also goes with organizations. A new organization, a new venture, nurture, a project also. Care for and protect while they are growing. It could be someone, it could be something. Fledgling. Usually we use this word with a company, with an organization, with a country. Fledgling, a person or organization that is immature, inexperienced, or underdeveloped, just growing, nascent stage. Embark, an important word, begin a course of action. The government of India has embarked on something. Do remember it takes a preposition on. Efficacy, usually this goes with drugs, a medical term in a way, but you can use in other contexts as well. The ability to produce a desired or intended result, to be quite efficient in producing the expected or whatever you desire, the result. Curb, also an important one. Yes, you can also say naive. Curb, a check or restrain on something. Curb something, an important word. I use this word regularly. Hardships. Hardships, you have to recollect the word resilient nature. Hardships is nothing but problems, difficult situations, a condition that causes difficulty or suffering. Impose, force on someone. I use this word as well regularly. Don't impose your ideas on someone or something. Impose, force on someone. Usually it goes with impose taxes, impose ideas, impose certain policies for good. This is an idiomatic expression, an important one. A typical example, he has left the city for good, means what? Forever, definitively. You can also think of the word permanently. Someone has left the city for good means he has left the city permanently. Reluctant, unwilling and hesitant, disinclined, reluctant to do something means what? Reluctant means not willing to. Ebb is a word, ebbing, gradually decrease, come down gradually. Revival, we have got many a time, an improvement in the condition, strength, or fortunes of someone or something. Revival of the standards, revival of the company, revival of the system, There are so many combinations. Catapult, I'm sure you all know as kids, you must have used this, but here it has been used as a verb. Move suddenly or at great speed, as though hurled by a catapult. Catapult is usually Y-shaped wooden piece, and you attach a string to that. At one end, you have a stone or something. You pull it back and you release. Catapult, an important one. A robust, we have got many a time. Strong and healthy or vigorous. Surpass, we have got recently. Exceed or be greater than. Volatility, volatile, not standard, not permanent, not firm. Liable to change rapidly and unpredictably, especially for the worse. Volatile has a negative connotation, not stable. You can think of that expression. Slash, generally, it means cut with a wide sweeping movement, typically using a knife or sword. Slash. But in this context, it means bring down the prices. Benevolence, an important word. In fact, there is one expression. Regular classes, I tell students, benevolent dictator. Dictator actually a bad person in the sense, try to suppress, but benevolent dictator. At the same time, a dictator is highly disciplined. Only then he or she can control. So, benevolent dictator, a very good expression. Benevolence, a quality of being well-meaning, also kindness. Persist, we have got many a time. Continue in an opinion or course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. Sustainable has so many meanings. Today we talk about sustainable practices, but sustain something, able to be maintained at a certain rate or level. Prolong, extend the duration of, extend, prolong means extend. Prolong the session, prolong the meeting. A recession, an important word, and we have got many a time. Recession means what? Low economic activity, a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced. And whenever there is a recession, usually it happens once in 15 years or once in 20 years, a recession, then you come across a layoffs. That is one of the things that happen whenever there's a recession. Dampen, we have got in the recent past, make less strong or intense, or bring down someone's enthusiasm or spirit. Spur, we have got recently, a thing that prompts or encourages someone, an incentive. In a way, you can also say it doesn't have a negative connotation, but negative side, you can think of words like provoke, incite. But here, a thing that prompts or encourages someone to do something. So all these words are very important, many of these. Now let us go to the editorial. How does it start? The Spring Blues. This editorial, a lot of words are there and also a lot of expressions that are important from the exam point of view. The spring, the moment, always I tell students to be active learners. The moment you see the word the spring, you have to think of one important rule. What is that rule? When it comes to nouns, one of the dimensions, gender. And we have four types of gender, four in number, but the fourth one is very important, neuter gender. Neuter gender denotes neither male nor female. But English people, they attributed gender to a few things. Anything that expresses power and strength, they attributed the masculine gender. Anything that expresses beauty and grace, they attributed the feminine gender. Typical examples for feminine gender: nature, earth, moon, spring, winter. So when you use a spring, you should remember it is it has been attributed the feminine gender, and you have to use a feminine pronoun or whatever you use. The expression should reflect the feminine gender. In so many exams they've given, the spring has its own beauty, not correct. The spring season has her own beauty. We have to use her own beauty. That is the first thing you have to think of. Then, as I said, usually we talk in terms of Monday blues. Means what? Monday morning, a lot of employees, because they enjoy over the weekend, they feel a little depressed. They don't feel like going to the office. Then we use the expression, idiomatic expression, which is part of Western culture, Monday blues. Blues means feelings of melancholy, sadness, or depression. But here the spring blues. So what is the reason for using the spring blues? The spring season has just started. In fact, Holy Festival, it marks the beginning of the spring season. Keeping that in mind, the spring blues. Now, what is the main idea of this editorial? A fresh guard is needed. This is in present tense passive voice. What is whenever you come across active voice or passive voice, direct or indirect, you have to know for sure what the other form is. Here, we need a fresh guard, active voice, present tense. A fresh guard is needed by us. This is present tense passive voice. At the outset, you have to think of that. A fresh guard is needed, passive voice, present tense, or we need a fresh guard for what? To nurture India's fledgling economic recovery from the pandemic. We all know we have done so many editorials. Now, slowly, the Indian economy is recovering, the world also, from the pandemic. And while it is recovering, definitely you can't expect that to be robust or strong. Here, keeping that in mind, a fresh guard is needed to nurture. One important word, nurture. Usually it goes with children, kids. Care for and protect while they are growing, someone or something. As I said, it goes with kids usually, but it also goes with organizations, economies, companies. Nurture India's fledgling economic recovery. Fledgling, an important word, means what? A person or organization that is immature, inexperienced, or underdeveloped. You can think of words like naive, one word, and also you can think of one idiomatic expression, greenhorn. Greenhorn means what? A person who doesn't have enough experience, or a person without any experience. We use idiomatic expression greenhorn. India's fledgling economic recovery from the pandemic. Easy to understand from the main idea. When you read this sentence, you can easily comprehend what exactly the editorial talks about. It talks about something is needed, what is needed, nurture, and needed for what? To nurture India's fledgling economic recovery from the pandemic. Now, let us go to how it starts and how it goes about. This week, India will complete 2 years since the government embarked on what is now considered the harshest and quickest lockdowns in the world in a bid to block entry points for the infectious COVID 19 virus. It talks about the time when the lockdown was imposed all of a sudden, abruptly. This week, India will complete 2 years since the government embarked on an important word. Embark means what? It means start something or begin something, begin a course of action. In this context, impose lockdown. This week, India will complete, future tense, 2 years since the government embarked on what is now considered. See, one clause is in future, another clause is in present. Sometimes students ask me, so can we use different tenses in a particular sentence? My answer, why not? Based on the idea, you have to use a tense. It is not a rule that you have to use the same tense in all the tenses in the same form or same tense in a particular sentence. There is no rule as such. This week, India will complete 2 years since the government embarked on what is now considered the harshest and quickest lockdowns within no time. It came like a bolt from the blue, a lockdown that time. No one was expecting and no one was prepared. Bolt from the blue. So, quickest, harshest and quickest lockdowns in the world in a bid. Why was it imposed abruptly? In a bid means in an attempt to block entry points for the infectious COVID 19 virus. Intention was very good. The efficacy of that lockdown, both in terms of curbing infection rates and mortality rates, and the accompanying hardships imposed on the population at large, can be debated at length. This is an important phrase you have to remember. Something can be debated at length means years together, not only days, months, years together. We can debate. Debate means what? Some for, some against. So this talks about, it starts with the lockdown completing 2 years this week, sudden, quick, harshest, and quickest lockdowns in the world. That is one thing. And then it talks about the efficacy of that particular lockdown. Efficacy, usually, as I said, it goes with medicines, drugs. The but in this context, it has a same meaning, but context is different. Efficacy means what? The ability to produce a desired or intended result. Efficiency, efficacy, in a way related. The efficacy of that lockdown means what extent it could bring the expected or desired results. The efficacy of that lockdown, both in terms of both always takes, and you should recollect that as well. Common error, people tend to say both as well as a common error, not correct. They have given in many competitive exams. Do remember both and one combination. Both in terms of curbing infection, curb, control, check, restraint on something. Curbing infection rates and mortality, death, and the accompanying hardships, difficulties forced on the population at large. At large means a wide section of the population covering different sectors or realms, can be debated at length. So, in the sentence talks about the editorial starts with completing 2 years. This week will complete 2 years. That is one thing. And next, it talks about the efficacy of that lockdown in terms of there are two dimensions. One, curbing the main intention, infection rates and mortality rates, and the second dimension, accompanying hardships imposed on the population at large. There is, however, when it comes to those two dimensions, we can debate for a long time. Here, as I said, it talks about can be debated at length for a long time. There is, however, contrasting information. Little argument means there is no argument. Little, a little, the little. You should immediately recollect. Here, little argument, it has a negative connotation, almost nothing or hardly anything. There is, however, contrasting information. There is, however, little argument over the massive economic costs for the country. When it comes to the third dimension, what is the third dimension in this context? The impact on the economy, the economic cost for the country, little argument over the massive economic cost for the country. Means no one is going to argue, there's no argument whatsoever. The Reserve Bank of India has underlined that some of the damage to India's GDP is permanent. Based on that statement, the editorial tries to substantiate. Here, little argument over the massive economic costs for the country. To substantiate that, the Reserve Bank of India has underlined, emphasized that some of the damage to India's GDP is permanent. This can be linked. So where can you see that impact? This can be linked to business shutting shop for good. Businesses shutting shop for good. For good is an idiomatic expression, an important one. What does it mean? Permanently, forever. This can be linked to the damage to India's GDP is permanent. Again, to substantiate a few examples. This can be linked to businesses shutting shop for good permanently, laborers migrating home, with many choosing not to return, and consumers turning increasingly reluctant. The third dimension is very important. Third example. At a later stage, also editorial talks about that. At the fag end of the editorial, you come across this dimension. Consumers turning increasingly reluctant. Consumers turning increasingly reluctant. There's one word, reluctant means what? Not generally we use it, goes with everyday English as well. Stubborn, adamant, reluctant, unwilling and hesitant. Though stubborn and adamant, they have negative connotations. Reluctant, not to that extent. Hesitant, perhaps some reason you are not willing to do something, then reluctant. The rebuilding effort remains a work in progress. Because of the impact of the COVID or the pandemic, obviously, the economies got shattered around the world, and now it is a time to rebuild. The rebuilding effort remains a work in progress. This is also an important expression. The rebuilding effort, now it is time to rebuild. It has been going on. The rebuilding effort remains a work in progress, although record tax collections would suggest that all is well. Rebuilding work is in progress going on, although contrasting word. Record tax collections. On the one hand, fledgling economy. On the other hand, record tax collections. Based on this record tax collections, it looks like all is well, an important expression. Would suggest that all is well, but all is not well. That is a point over here. Personal consumption and employment driving contact intensive sectors remain below pre-pandemic levels. It looks like all is well, though it is not. Again, to prove that or to substantiate, personal consumption, as I said, consumers are reluctant. That is one point the editorial touches on and off. Personal consumption and employment driving contact intensive sectors remain below pre pandemic levels, even as other macro metrics have surpassed pre COVID performance. It is a paradoxical situation. Something is positive, something is negative. Certain sectors remain below pre pandemic levels. On the other hand, macro metrics have surpass means what? Exceed pre COVID performance. Just as a virus appeared to be ebbing, ebb means to decrease. So, gradually decrease, not all of a sudden, not abruptly, gradually. Just as the virus appeared to be ebbing, triggering hopes of a revival in consumer confidence, again, consumer confidence, the Russia Ukraine conflict has thrown up fresh challenges, including high commodity and crude oil prices. Now, unfortunately, pandemic impact over, and slowly economy started breathing, and people started breathing. They started rebuilding. Unfortunately, at this juncture, no one expected something like this. Just as the virus appeared to be ebbing, decreasing gradually, triggering hopes of a revival in consumer confidence. That was a outlook. That was a impression people had. Unfortunately, something has come up. The Russia-Ukraine conflict has thrown fresh challenges, including high commodity and crude oil prices. Another negative, another blow. In fact, healthcare costs are considered a key factor for pushing several middle and lower income households below the poverty line. There's one important area that makes or breaks, perhaps. Healthcare costs are considered a key factor, an important factor for pushing several middle and lower income households below the poverty line, while high inflation affects all economic factors. Healthcare costs, it affects a key factor when it comes to pushing middle class and low middle class, lower income households below the poverty line. On the other hand, high inflation affects all economic factors, affects verb, all economic factors, all the dimensions, all the sectors. The Russia Ukraine situation has not only catapulted, an important word, catapult, moves suddenly or at great speed as though hurled by a catapult. Sudden or rapid, usually it has two dimensions. One is sudden and also great speed, rapid, as though hurled by a catapult. The Russia Ukraine situation has not only catapulted gas, oil, and coal prices higher, but also fertilizers, wheat, corn, and seed oil. All these, the prices have gone up. A section of farmers growing crops such as wheat may gain. When we make statements, we should always remember they are not absolute. It is like 80-20, majority. Exceptions are always there. This sentence talks about the exceptions. A section of farmers growing crops such as wheat may gain, but inflation in essential items such as food and transport will impact the poor the most. For now, India's oil marketing companies, who the government has argued determine the retail prices of fuel, have shown extreme benevolence in holding rates at November 2021 levels, and this may persist till Parliament's current session ends. Something positive. This sentence talks about India's oil marketing companies. and their benevolence. There's one important word, benevolence. The quality of being well meaning, that is one thing, but generally we say benevolent means what? Kindness. For now, India's oil marketing companies, who the government has argued determine the retail prices of fuel, have shown extreme benevolence in holding rates at November 2021 levels, and this may continue till Parliament's current session ends. After that, the prices may go up. This is, however, not fiscally sustainable. Why the prices may go up? Not fiscally sustainable, fiscal, financially sustainable, able to be maintained at a certain rate or level. Just as the finance ministry has argued that high global commodity prices are not. When the prices go up, obviously in the long run, not sustainable. People can't afford to buy. A prolonged conflict in Europe could tip the global economy into recession. Imagine the war continues. What is the impact? A prolonged conflict, in this context, war, extended, last for a long time. A prolonged conflict in Europe could tip the global economy into recession. A recession, an important word, low economic activity. Even as monetary policy missteps and social risks associated with high inflation could dampen growth, Moody's Investor Service warned last week. So here there are two dimensions. One is the prolonged conflict or war in Europe that may push the world economy into recession, one thing. And also, on the other hand, monetary policy missteps, wrong steps, and social risks associated with high inflation. High inflation always dangerous, could dampen growth. Dampen, we have got in the recent past. It means what? Make less strong or intense. Growth, Moody's Investor Service warned last week. On the other hand, the government's robust, strong, and vigorous direct tax collections that have surpassed even revised estimates by 1.13 lakh crore give it room to not just push forward the LIC share sale till market volatility subsides, but also slash fuel taxes further, curb other inflationary pressures, and expand the COVID 19 booster shots coverage. This sentence talks about what the government has to do. And there are two dimensions over here. One is, though the economy, fledgling economy, it is not in good shape, and that is on the negative side. On the positive side, direct tax collections are robust and also they have gone up. Based on that, the sentence talks about, on the other hand, the government's robust direct tax collections that have surpassed even revised estimates by 1.13 lakh crore give it room, means it can do something, liberty or freedom, to not just push forward the LIC share sale till market volatility subsides, means they have to wait. Right now, the market is volatile, fickle, change within no time, always changing, not firm. But also, not only that, but also slash. Slash actually means to cut with a sharp knife or sword, but in this context, bring down, cut. Slash fuel taxes further, curb other, control other inflationary pressures, and expand the COVID 19 booster shots coverage. Positive steps to be taken. Unless people get more certainty about the pandemic's end game. Now, yesterday I was going through some international magazines and the Hindu also. The fourth wave, impact of the fourth wave, that they started talking about the fourth wave. Unless people get more certainty about the pandemic's end game and have some money in their hands or pockets, it would be difficult to spur consumption. As I said, it is all about consumers and consumption, spending money. It would be difficult to spur consumption, spur a thing that prompts or encourages someone to do something, spur consumption enough to reach the necessary next stage of the recovery, a revival in private investments. If they start spending, obviously, then there will be a revival in private investments, revival to bring back to the original level or bring back the original standards. That's all about this editorial. Any editorial related to economy, that to Indian economy, very important. You have to read twice, thrice, and get the words wanting and understand the phrases and the data very important. You may get it as a passage in prelims or mains, and also they may ask the impact of COVID, the pandemic, on Indian economy, generally speaking. So, what are the questions you can think of based on this editorial comprehension point of view? As usual, what is this editorial about? What can be debated at length? Debate for and against. At length, an important phrase. What has the Reserve Bank of India underlined, emphasized? Which sectors remain below pre pandemic levels? Certain sectors remain below pre pandemic levels. What are those sectors? What has thrown up fresh challenges? Something has thrown up fresh challenges. You should be able to answer. Right now, something is on. That is the answer. Now, let us go to practice questions based on exam topics. First five questions, error location. Please read sentence number one. Today, not that difficult, error location. You should get all the five correct. That should not be a problem. Please read sentence number one. Most of the popular teleserials are not only illogical in their storyline, but also crude in their presentation. Where is the error? Most of the popular teleserials are not only illogical in the storyline, but also crude. Crude means what? Not refined in their presentation. No one has responded. I think we have a lag of more than 20 seconds. Most of the popular teleserials, nothing wrong with this. Most, we have to use plural verb, are not only illogical adjective in their storyline, nothing wrong, phrase, prepositional phrase, but also, not only you have to look for but also, you have but also, crude, another adjective in their presentation, prepositional phrase. So nothing wrong. The sentence is perfect. Very good. Ramadevi says, no error. Nagamani, Bharat, a lot of students. Very good. I appreciate. So answer is no error. Please respect the fifth option. For that, you got to be very confident about the sentence, the parts, the phrases, the clauses, the subject, the verb. Everything should be. No, no, in the storyline, there's no error. I'm trying to convince him for the past 2 days to come and live with me till his father's anger cools down. There is there, it is there. Plural. Plural, obviously, you have to use there. That's why in their storyline, in their presentation. If you say their presentations, then you have to change storylines also. You cannot touch two parts, only one part. Here, I am trying to convince him for the past 2 days. There's one important expression and one preposition. Whenever you come across two prepositions, one since, the other for, you have to think of two tenses. One is present perfect, the other one present perfect continuous. For the past 2 days or for the last 2 days. Here it is in present continuous, which is not correct. It should be in present perfect continuous. Based on that, I have been I have been trying to convince him. Then it is correct. Question is about present perfect continuous. It is a pity that a son born to very good parents should live a life of misery and deprivation of the worst order. For the last 2 days, for the past 2 days, we should use either present perfect or present perfect continuous. But for the past or last, that usually goes with the present perfect continuous. It is a pity that a son born to very good parents should live a life of misery and deprivation of the worst order. The worst order. So, where is the error? Question number 3. No, no, nothing wrong with the worst order and deprivation of the worst order. No, no. Here, it is a pity, nothing wrong, that a son born who was born to very good parents should live. Why should we use the word should here? Not at all required. He is living. It talks about a present condition, something that is going on. It is a pity that a son born to very good parents is living. It is a pity that he is living a life of misery and deprivation of the worst order. Here, should live is not correct. It should be. He is living present continuous. It is a pity that he is living a life of misery and deprivation of the worst order. Forget about a son born to very good parents. That is not important. Now try to read. It is a pity that he is living a life of. Not easy, this one. I don't know if someone has got it right. That is highly appreciable. There is an error in the third part. And do remember, lead a life, not correct. Common error, live a life. A lot of people say he is leading a happy life, not correct. You don't lead life, you lead a group of people. You lead someone, you lead something. But you live a life. This is a common error. Do remember, lead a life is not correct, live a life is correct. Should cannot be used in this context, beyond any doubt. I would have asked him to leave my house immediately if my father wouldn't have been at home and awake. Not easy. I myself have said that. Not an easy question, that too under pressure, very difficult to answer. Please try to spot the error, an easy one. Question number 4. I would have asked, whenever you come across would have verb past participle form, you should think of conditionals, especially past conditional. And also if, whenever you see the word if, you should think of conditionals. And the main clause would plus have plus verb past participle form, then you have to think of past conditional. Past conditional, which tense are you supposed to use? This is not correct. You're supposed to use past perfect. Based on that, if my father had not been, hadn't been, would not have been is not correct. My father hadn't been at home and awake. Had not been. Yes, very good. And this is about past conditional, easy to answer based on your grammar knowledge. Question number 5. The victim who was reportedly driving the bike in inebriated condition means drunken state, intoxicated, an important word. Intoxicated condition. Lost control and crashed into a road median. So where is the error? Had not been. Remember this way, Srinivas, if clause, whatever the conditional, based on the conditional, you have to decide. Here, past conditional, and what is the tense? Past perfect tense. Where is the error? There is an error. No, no, no. The victim who was reportedly driving the bike, context goes into the past, in an inebriated condition. What is missing here? Article is missing. In an inebriated condition, then it is correct. Lost control and crashed into a road median. We have to use inebriated condition. Before that, we should use the indefinite article an. An is not there. Question is based on articles. Let us go to the next set, scrambled sentences. You have to get the correct order. The homeless who suffered from the team has attended. Yes, Srinivas, that's right. Usually it is driving the bike. These all modern English, standard English. We are supposed. That's a very good question. Who is that Krishna? I really appreciate riding your shop, Krishna. I appreciate that. Generally, the word driving goes with car and riding goes with the bike. Then you may ask. This has been given in one of the exams, bank exams, and you may ask, sir, how come? There's something called modern English or modern English or current English. Current English. Certain expressions. No, no, I left an academy on February 28th, Gangadhar. Oh, Gangadhar, you are here. You have been asking for bank exams. I'm going to start April 2nd. I'm launching my app. I'm going to come up with a lot of courses. So please keep in touch. That's a good question, but it's a question from, that's a good doubt, but it's a question from previous year's papers, usage point of view. That's what I have been talking about the same thing for the last 2 or 3 minutes. Madhav, that's what I have, in fact, I've just talked about the same. Riding bike is correct, driving car is correct, but driving the bike they have used, and there's only one error. Indefinite article "an" is missing. Please go to scrambled sentences. What are scrambled sentences? They take a lengthy sentence and they try to divide, then shuffle the parts. Jumble sentences, paragraph, but here sentences, not paragraph. Again, here you have to look for subject, verb, object, and sometimes you may have the phrases and clauses related to the subject, and you may have phrases and clauses related to the object. That you got to look at very carefully. Oh, very unfortunate. Narrowly missed, but be optimistic, remain optimistic. This year, 2022, you're going to make it. You're almost there. You should take it that way. The team has attended. So let us start with the B. Attended the homeless, whom you ask a question. The homeless who suffered from A, and suffered from what? Not so small injuries, including fractures and deep wounds due to accidents. BADC. I always tell, because already so much effort has gone in, you must have been preparing for the last 1 year. Already 1 year efforts, it is like 95% you are there. So remaining, or I can say 90%, remaining 5% or 10%, a few gaps here and there. Work on those gaps, fill the gaps. Don't leave any stone unturned. And next time, obviously, you will get selected. And you all should remember today we talk about the success stories, IAS, civil services. Only a few get in the first attempt, civil services. A lot of candidates, especially the toppers, they say, this is my third attempt, my fourth attempt. In fact, one IAS officer candidate from Telangana state, in his fifth attempt, he could become the topper. civil services topper. So always remain optimistic, but at the same time, you should make sure no stone is left unturned. That is very important. You should not leave any stone unturned. You have to fill all the gaps. The Kolkata based lender proposes to add what? Ask the question what? 200 more branches to about 3,000 branch network in the country as part of its phygital approach. I wanted you guys to learn this expression. That's why I have brought this. I have not touched the same order I have presented. So, phygital approach, a new concept, a new term. And what does it mean? Physical branches and digital penetration. Have you heard of this any time? Answer is A, B, C, D. That is not the point over here. I would like to know, have you heard of this expression? Prospective bankers, phygital approach. I haven't heard of this, to be very frank, to be candid. I have come across for the first time. April 2nd, I'm launching Gangadhar. I'll make an announcement soon, but official launch will be on April 2nd. All of you listen, on the eve of Ugadi, Telugu New Year. I don't know, you guys haven't responded. Have you heard of this any time? I don't think so. Let us go to question number 3. Across several locations on Saturday. So, what is the correct order? Who is this, Yakub? Yes, of course. Hard work will never betray you. That is true, Yakub. Yes, yes, I'll be doing that. Ramesh, sure. It's a combination of physical branches and digital transactions. New year, new approach. Yes, of course. Hard work always pays off. Yes, Prithvi Raja. If not today, tomorrow. The city, Hyderabad, in this context, which has been reeling under temperatures close to 40 degrees Celsius for the past 1 week, received a refreshing respite in the form of downpour across several locations on Saturday. So, based on that, CBDA, perfect. Try to understand how the writer has presented the idea. Try to think of the continuity aspect and try to develop contextual awareness. Here, when you work on practice questions, do remember skill development is important. You have to enrich yourself and you have to acquire certain skills. These sessions are not for answers. I never focus on simply only on answers. I always focus on, though we have the questions, you have to find out the answers. Focus should be on enrichment, acquiring skills, important skills. Live courses, Gangadhar, live sessions. Every month I'll be offering live sessions. Go to the fourth one. When a drug peddler in the garb of an important expression in the guise of a food delivery boy befriended her and convinced her means what? BD, that using MDMA, a recreational drug, will help her. She fell for it. Very good. Now you have a para jumble, not that easy, but exactly. One should always hold one's horses to let the success enter. Very good, Madhav. I appreciate that. Hold your horses with optimism, with a lot of loaded with optimism. And now I'm on my own. Obviously, I have to do. Definitely, I will do that, Srinivas. And I'm going to take a holistic approach. I'll be talking about that sooner or later. And that approach will help a lot of students when it comes to English. Using my experience, expertise, and keeping the exams in mind, the approach is going to be holistic. And English part, you don't have to worry. What is the correct? The first one here. There are summits, what the visits, and one you can't consider. It is certainly no coincidence. Hold that one. Without subject, no. Without subject, no. Answer should be D. D is the first one. It is certainly no coincidence that a string of foreign leaders, ministers, and officials are descending on New Delhi this month as a Russian invasion of Ukraine continues for its fourth week and without a clear end in sight. DF1 pair. Yes, yes, I'll be doing that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to give a demo related to my app, related to my website, related to the courses. 3 demos you are going to get. And the Hindu also, there's something new thing coming up. Regarding that, I'm going to talk DF1 pair. After that, what? There are summits with the prime ministers of Japan and Australia virtual, and one soon with the Israeli prime minister. So it should be AC1 pair. Very good. What the visits by NATO and Quad allies of the US all have in common is the planning at short notice. So it should be BE1 pair. DF1 pair, AC1 pair, BE1 pair. Easy to get the correct order. Looks like. What is your question? April 2nd, Govind. I have already said that. I am launching my app, my website officially on April 2nd, on the eve of Ugadi, Telugu New Year Day. And before that, between 27th and 31st, you will have demos. And these demos are about the courses I'm going to launch, about the app, about the website, about one more thing I don't want to disclose at this stage. You'll come to know after 27th. In a garb of something. Exactly, Madhav. Very good. That's an important expression. In the pretending manner, in the disguise. That's an important expression in the garb of. Please go to idioms. What time is it? 8:53. We have enough time to be dismissed from employment all of a sudden, abruptly. I will come up with the thumbnail images. You'll come to know. This will continue. This will not be interrupted. As long as I have energy and health permits, I will continue with the Hindu. No second thoughts about that. To be dismissed from employment, get the sack. E. Very good. To get the pink slip. To be shown. Someone is shown the door. To be kicked out. So many are there. Get the sack. Refers to a busy activity, usually cities, usually in a noisy surrounding. So hustle and bustle. The hustle and bustle of a city. Unpleasant work or dishonest action, dirty work, unpleasant or dishonest, refers to a work that brings you great pleasure, labor of love, an important expression. Yes, yes, labor of love, Vamsi. No need to get surprised. I'm going to start a course, offer a course related to one related to banks, the other related to SSC. When I launch these courses, simultaneously I will be starting mock tests, bank related, SSC related. And now SSC CGL Tier 1 this month, so you can't April. And you have to think from mains point of view, prelims as well as mains point of view, but the focus is going to be on mains point of view. That will help those who are preparing for SSC, different exams could be CHSL, CGL, MTS, GD Constable, any of these. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, I will do that. I will do that. Not today, after 27th. See, here what happened, I have taken it from the newspaper. Who is this? Prasad's very good. I appreciate. You're very sharp. I appreciate that. Two students today. One is Prasad, the other one I'm sorry to say that I don't remember right now. But here, LABOR, this is American spelling. LABOUR, that is British. Color, COLOR, American, COLOUR, British. So do remember, exam point of view, it is not acceptable, but modern English, fine, no issues. Computer does not accept LABOUR. So who is this? What is the last one? Someone difficult to deal with. Cold piece of work. Do you remember one more? Hard nut to crack. Hard nut to crack also you can use. The last enrichment slide. Editorial vocabulary. Please try to get all the 10 correct. We have 4 minutes. Blues, important. Monday blues, spring blues, summer blues. So you got a new combination. Here you can consider noun, but also idiomatic expression. Melancholy, sadness, depression. Again, I is the answer. Nurture, nurtured. Definitely, labor is correct. Beyond any doubt, Vishnuvardhan. You cannot consider LABOR. You have to consider LABOUR. Nurture is a regular verb. Care for and protect till something or someone grows. G. Fledgling company, fledgling economy, fledgling organization. Adjective. Means what? Immature, inexperienced, naive, greenhorn. You have to recollect all these. Embark, again, a regular verb. Embark, embarked, embarked. Means what? Begin or start. Usually it goes with a journey. J. Efficacy, noun. Efficacy of something. Ability to produce the desired or intended result. B is the answer. Curb is a regular verb. Curbed. And curb means what? Restrict something, control something, a check on something. A is the answer. Hardships I use regularly. Means what? Difficulties. Hardships, nouns. C is the answer. Impose, imposed, a regular verb. Force on, force upon, thrust upon. E. Don't impose your ideas. Don't impose new taxes. The government has decided not to impose new taxes. Ebb means verb, meaning gradually decrease. So, F. Benevolence, benevolent adjective, benevolence noun. An important word, kindness. That's all for today. Thanks for being with me till 8:59, almost an hour. That is highly appreciable. Hope you guys have got enriched. Do remember to subscribe and share, join the Telegram group, and I'll provide the PDF. Try to work on important